So as you said at the top right there, too much spending. But now when you compare that to Trump's economy from 4 years ago, some of the things that he proposed to bring back, what do you see as the biggest differences of the two?
It's a question of the different ways that at this point they're not applying economics, right? I think neither of them are carefully adhering to basic economic principles. There's nothing unusual about that in government as economists sit on the sidelines. I think they're different things. What is also striking is that as a Republican, one would expect Trump to be more sensitive to these economic concerns of waste and inefficiency. That's supposedly, what Republicans are about. And, it is not surprising when Democrats, who tend to be more supportive of spending, proceed in that fashion. So I think, in a sense, the Democrats are more faithful to their historical orientations of pricing, whereas Trump is hardly faithful to what Republicans have been doing in terms of limited government and restraint on pricing. I think that's really your sort of big differences in terms of the inefficiencies that both economic programs have associated with them.
Americans obviously are concerned about grocery store costs, the economy in general. So when they hear things from their politicians like, we're going to bring down inflation, we're going to cut taxes, we're not going to tax tips, I mean, that sounds great, but how are they going to implement this? Whose plan do you think is less of a pie in the sky plan and is, more realistic?
I think my plan, do nothing. And my think is that Harris is closer. Right?
But you're
essentially, let the market sort this out. And my point is this: I don't see evidence of what we call market failure that's leading to inflated prices from a micro point of view. I don't see collusion. I don't see these guys making, excess profits through some sort of monopoly pricing. Okay. Now, really, inflation normally is a macro problem, right? I think what we're discussing is really a question of price markups. But the problem with price markups in terms of analysis is oftentimes they can reflect efficiency. That is, firms reduce costs. And so the difference between their prices and their costs grows, but they're not raising prices. They're making a lot more money. Okay, so that's not necessarily a bad thing when they get more efficient and their markups go up. However, that's not really what's going on here either. I think there's just adjustments, as we often see with supply and demand. As I said, I don't know the specifics of particular commodities that have gone up, and then people say, the reason why they're doing this is X, requiring any kind of antitrust policy or some regulation. So I'm quite content to let the market sort this out. And frankly, I think if Harris gets in office, by the time she's there, we're not going to be doing anything about this. I think things will sort it out. At this point, inflation is actually quite low. We're a little bit more concerned with maybe keeping unemployment low. And so I think she'll be fine. Trump gets in, his interest in tariffs is crazy. I mean, we're going to have to pay a lot more for imported goods, but also inputs or resources that manufacturers and producers use. So that's your way of elevating prices.